I want to start by thanking everyone for joining today, and we welcome you to Taboola. We're excited to get going and walk through some optimization features within your account. A little bit of starting information here. My name is Rob, and I'm a success manager with Taboola. One of my primary tasks is ultimately to work with clients like you to make sure that you feel comfortable and prepared to run and manage campaigns on your own. Now, in my day-to-day, I work with over 150 clients of all company sizes and business models, each with a different primary goal or KPI that they're tracking, and they all run on Taboola successfully. Now, I hope you leave today with the proper tools at your disposal to run and manage campaigns, knowing that you're set up for the best way of success. Now, just a couple notes about today. There will be time for questions at the end of the presentation, but of course, feel free to use the questions drop-down box in your GoToWebinar control panel to submit your questions at any time throughout the session, and we will address those at the end. Now, you'll also receive a follow-up after the session with a full recording should you need to reference this material again. But of course, if you need support at any other time, you have 24/7 support available at support@taboola.com, and can also find any other information pertaining to your account within our Advertiser Help Center, also found by typing in help.taboola.com. As a brief overview of what we're going to cover today, we're going to start with the basics, essentially what is Taboola. Then we're going to get into accessing and navigating your account, talking about ways to track and record your material, also creating and targeting your campaigns, and lastly, we'll review how you track your performance and insights. So let's start with what is Taboola. Now, Taboola is a discovery platform that will help you reach new clients by surfacing information that they may like but never knew existed. Oftentimes we get compared to search and social. Now within search, there's intent. On social, you have elements of referral, but what about users that don't know how to look for you yet? Well, that's where we come in. Taboola's discovery algorithm is going to reach users when they're in the exploration phase. And it's for this reason that Taboola is a great resource for exposing new users to your content, but also bringing previous users back around to your website. So let's get started with your accounts. To access your account, you can navigate to backstage.taboola.com, or you can simply go to taboola.com and click on Log In, found in the right corner of the top side. You're going to log in with the email address that you used to create this account. Now, ultimately, this is what your landing page is going to look like. Keep in mind that some of you may only see a blank screen here, and that's because your campaigns may have not started to run yet, and as a result, we do not have data to display. Once you get going, though, you will see the insights upon logging into your account. Looking on a more focused level, we're going to go over your billing management and your campaign management, found over here on the left side of your dashboard. Starting first, we're going to look at just billing really quickly. You have two facets. You have the billing management page and the payment history page. Now, the billing management page is where you're going to be able to add or remove or essentially monitor any credit card activity that's going on within your account. If you need to add a new payment method, you can do so from here. The payment history tab will keep a running record of all of the payments you have made through our platform. There are also export features found in the top right of each of these pages in case you do need to pull this material out into an Excel spreadsheet to make it a little bit easier to manage. But with the billing out of the way, let's go ahead and look at the bulk of operations here, and that would be the campaign management. Now, there's four main facets to managing your campaigns, and we're actually going to look at these in reverse order, starting first with pixel management, then looking at campaign management, and finally reviewing your top campaign content, and finally your campaign summary. So pixels here. What is a pixel? Well, a pixel is a piece of code that can be added to your website to track and store user data or track specific actions for users that are engaging with your content. While optional, this is something that we do recommend setting up as soon as you get into your account. Ultimately, this will ensure that your campaigns are set to track everything appropriately and that you can get all the insights you need from the start of your campaign. If you're running with retargeting, it's always great to place that as well so that we can begin tracking a pool of users before the campaigns even get into full swing. This is what your pixel management page will look like here. Any pixel that you have created will be stored and saved. To create new options, you can simply click on Add Pixel. And if ever at any time you need to reference the HTML or JavaScript coding, you can also go back into the page here. We run with 3 specific pixel types here on Taboola, and we're going to walk through each individually, starting first with the conversion pixel. Now, a conversion pixel is useful to help track specific individual actions. This is great for material like email signups, subscriptions, sales, and any other kind of lead generation. Typically, this pixel gets placed on the thank you or confirmation page of any action that you're trying to track. Our next pixel would be the page view pixel. A page view pixel is simply another type of conversion pixel that's meant for iterating as you click through multiple pages. Now, I have a strong note about this, and that is to run either a conversion pixel or a page view pixel, but preferably not both at the same time. Since they are both conversion types, they will report back to the same location and could demonstrate more actions you might actually be converting. A page view pixel might be more suitable for arbitrage content, or if you're running any type of slideshow and you need to see how many times a user's clicking through a page. Otherwise, we recommend sticking with the conversion pixel. And then our last pixel, and probably most diverse of options, here is the retargeting pixel. Now, a retargeting pixel offers you to store site visitor data for up to 30 days that you can create to make follow-up campaigns and essentially bring those users back around into your landing page. Some users might place a retargeting pixel on the entire header of their website. Others might add several pixels and target one maybe for sales and another for blog content as an example. In general, these are really robust tools that can help you circle users back around to your content and hopefully increase your conversion rate down the line. Now, users that implement these pixels on average through our network can see up to 2 times better performance. So this is one of the reasons we do recommend getting those built as soon as you log into your account. But now we're going to move into how we create and target your campaigns. So I'm going to have you click on the campaign management button on the left-hand side of your dashboard, and you should see a page like this. Any campaign that you create will be shown on this particular page, and you can manage them on a more specific level. Calling out a few specific features on this page, you'll notice that there's a series of buttons found on the right-hand side. This is how you're going to manage each campaign on an individual basis. Starting first, you have the pause or play button. This will allow you to stop or resume a campaign at any time, giving you complete control of how your budget is utilized. The second button that looks like a pencil will direct you to your campaign properties. This is the same page that you will see when you click on New Campaign, and this is the page you will go to for editing your targeting opportunities, including time frame, location, as well as your bidding and budget. We will look at that in further detail down the line. The third button that looks like a small list is your campaign inventory. This is where your ads are going to live. You will have your headlines, your thumbnails, and your landing page URLs on this page. And lastly, you have the page that looks like 2 pieces of paper stacked on top of each other. It's the duplicate button. This allows you to duplicate that same exact campaign with all of the campaign inventory included. So this is useful for when you want to maybe run to multiple platforms but use the same content. It'll save you time and effort to just press that button. If you need help filtering through your campaigns, we give you several ways to view them. As you build out more and more options, you're going to start to see that it becomes very robust. You'll see a lot of opportunities on a single page, and this just makes it a little bit easier to manage all of the campaigns you may or may not be running at that time. Now, the next page that we're going to look at here again is what I mentioned when you click on either the pencil or the New Campaign button. So if you click on New Campaign, we're going to get here. When you go to create a new campaign, you start with the initial targeting. We're going to review each individually. Under the campaign ID section, you will see the name appear. Now, this will not be published, but be specific here. This is for internal housekeeping. It's just a naming convention you want to apply to help organize the campaigns that you're viewing on your end. As for the branding text, I want to make a strong note here that this branding text will be published with your headline. It's important to note that you don't want to include the brand name in the headline necessarily because it may look redundant. As for the marketing objective, while this is an optional field, we do recommend filling this out if you have a specific KPI that you are tracking to. Ultimately, it was just going to add one more layer to our algorithm to help categorize and place you in more contextually relevant places with similar KPIs. Moving on to the time frame, we have start and end dates that allow you to set custom date ranges for your campaigns to run. This might be useful for running seasonal campaigns. We have Easter and Passover weekend coming up this weekend, so some users might want to run specifically an Easter-focused campaign. Another great example of this would be Black Friday. The week of is a great time to run e-commerce burst campaigns. And then lastly here, a special note to take a look at the campaign schedule. You will default to run 24/7, but this will also allow you to set a custom time window just in case you want to set specific days or specific hours that you want your campaign budget to be focused on. When you click on custom, you will see a page that looks like this. Note you have control. You can set a rule for each day, specific times, and even time zones. Scrolling down as we continue along this page, we're going to enter the campaign targeting section. Now, there are a lot of features here that you're going to be able to utilize. Starting first with the location targeting. Now, as a best practice, we do recommend setting up at least country borders for a few reasons. First, the online experience is going to be different from each country to country. You're going to see different sites of strong performers and maybe a different experience from the users that are engaging with that online content. Moreover, you're also going to see CPC variances. So to be able to control your budget and your online presence as best as possible, it's best to just migrate your campaigns, set them up by country borders. Once you do apply a country line, you will then also see that locations can be included for a region or state. You can go as granular as DMA or even zip code targeting. The next targeting option is for platforms. Now, something that we do recommend here as a best practice is to always separate your campaigns out by platform. So instead of running to all three maybe at one time, you run to each one individually. Again, like the location targeting, this is because the online experiences will be different, but also the CPC bidding is going to run differently. Mobile can get away with CPCs that are more or less around half of what desktop bidding might be. And so when you run them together, you might see that your results are going to be weighted towards smartphone. It's best to just split your budget out and separate them into individual platforms just to get the best insights and the smartest decisions for moving forward with new campaigns. The next three options we're going to take a look in closer detail over the next few slides. Starting first with the operating system targeting. Now we have 5 different types of operating systems we can target to: Mac, Linux, and Windows for desktop. And then we also have iOS and Android platforms for mobile and tablet targeting. Once you do have a specific operating system family chosen, you can then go on a more granular level and focus to subcategories. So various Android release versions. Another example might be targeting iOS 11 versus iOS 10. This is all material that we can do. This is great especially for app downloads or tracking apps, or generally having a very robust mobile strategy. I do encourage you, if you are interested in app targeting, take a look at our help center. There is great material on how we can integrate with app performance. And then we have our audience targeting opportunity here. So there are several features to focus on. We're going to look first at campaign clickers. Campaign clickers is a version of sequential retargeting that we can run with. This is great for earned media or PR content. Say, for example, a company like Forbes writes an article about you. You can create a campaign that runs to that Forbes article. Let's say in the image shown here, book reviews-mobile is a campaign running to a Forbes article. I want to bring those users back around to my landing page. So in a few weeks' time, I would create a campaign, click on campaign clickers, and simply enter the name of the previous campaign targeting that Forbes article. This new campaign would then target anyone who's clicked on that ad, and now you can serve them ads driving them straight to your landing page or maybe deeper into your conversion funnel. We then look at the next button. This is pixel-based targeting. And this is where that retargeting pixel that we mentioned earlier on in the presentation comes into play. When you're ready to target a pool of users that you have collected via the online pixel, simply type in pixel-based and the name of the retargeting pixel you made, and all of a sudden that campaign is now focused to that specific pool of users. With both types of retargeting, We generally recommend a small uplift in your CPCs by maybe around 30%, and this is to deal with the fact that you have a much smaller audience. Additionally, your messaging can be a lot stronger. Your headlines can be more specific to the product, and you can have a lot more encouraging thoughts to completing a sale or signing up via email. And then the last option here we have for your targeting here would be audience segments. Now, we run with thousands of different data segments across our platform, all varying in different scope. We can go broad, targeting things like gender or specific age ranges. You can go on a more granular level. We can look at those with specific shopper intent, those who have an interest in DIY content, or maybe even those who work for companies that are over 100 employees. And then on a very focused level, we can target specifics like owners who have Dove soap or people who have recently purchased AAA insurance. Ultimately, to test it out, simply enter a keyword and see what comes up. You'll have a very large list of options, and it's going to allow you to have a much more successfully focused campaign to a very specific pool of users. Now, there's a couple things that you want to consider when we do run with these various types of targeting. On a first level, let's focus on data segments. Before you choose a data segment, we do recommend running what we call a run of network campaign for at least 2 weeks. As a transparent platform, we're actually going to give you data insights up front, and we'll actually look at that in just a moment. But ultimately, you will see the various performance across all of our data segments, and so you can make a smarter decision on which segments might work best for your campaigns. Beyond that, I do recommend just being careful of layering on too many targets, as it could shrink your audience too much. For example, if you wanted to target, say, the state of Texas, but also target iOS users who are female below the age of 30. You're running with a very, very specific pool of users, and so either your CPCs are going to need to increase significantly, or you're just not going to see the scale that you might be expecting. As a general rule, anytime you reduce your audience size significantly, you do want to increase your CPCs to remain competitive. And again, that's because with the smaller impression base, you have to fight a little bit harder to get those clicks. And that's where we just recommend being careful of layering on the too many targets here. And then lastly, as I noted earlier, your campaign summary is actually going to provide useful insights into what targeting you might want to apply. So if you are unsure about how to get going, at the very least, separate your campaign by country, border, and platform, and then let the rest of it speak for itself. You will see those data insights come through. Once we get past the targeting section here, we get into setting a specific bid and budget. Now, starting with the bid amount, your bid is where your spending power comes from. So this is going to be used to compete against others in the same category as you for space in our widgets or feeds. So if you want to take over better placement or stand out more, this is where you would increase your CPCs. Now, if you're tracking conversions, we do recommend entering a CPA goal so that we can have a target to focus on. Having something in there just helps us keep a specific KPI in mind, and it helps with optimization down the line. You'll see in more robust fashion once we get to the By Site tab in your campaign summary. We'll talk about that soon. As for the spending limit, your spending limit is the maximum price that you will pay over the lifetime of the campaign. We won't necessarily get to that spending limit depending on how you deliver the ad, but ultimately that we will not ever exceed that particular limit. Now, making a quick note about the two distinctions for entire campaign versus monthly flight. For an entire campaign run, your campaign will stop running either when we hit your budget cap or when we hit the end date of your campaign, whichever comes first. If you are set on a monthly flight, your campaign is going to run across a calendar month, and then it will reset on the first of every month. So this can be great for a rolling campaign, but note as the month is coming to a close, you will see these spending limits reset back to 0 and pick up again on the first. As for your daily ad delivery, this is how we allocate that spending limit across the lifespan of your campaign. With a balanced daily ad delivery, it means that we're going to attempt to split the budget evenly across the days or hours of the campaign, with a buffer of up to 2 times the daily spend to allow for click surges. If you set it to an accelerated pace, it just means we're going to spend that money as fast as we can. So this is great if you want to collect a lot of insights at once, or you want to run any type of burst campaign. And then lastly, you have the option to set a strict daily cap. Basically, when you click strict, it's going to give you an option for a daily value that you do not want to exceed. Please be aware that there's still also a 25% buffer here as well. So say, for example, you don't want to spend more than $100. You have a daily cap of $100. We could theoretically spend up to $125 in that day to account for click surges, but of course, we're never going to exceed that spending limit. And then lastly, just a quick note about our creative traffic allocation. When you run campaigns on our site, we automatically optimize towards the best performing ads or the ads with the strongest click-through rates. If you want to run effective A/B testing, you can set the creative traffic allocation to even, and instead of optimizing towards the best performer, we are going to run all of your ads equally at the same time. And you will be able to compare on a very plain level how the performance is going. A couple quick notes about that if you do decide to run with even traffic allocation. Number one, only run it if you are starting the campaign from scratch. If ever you switch a campaign to even in the middle of a lifespan, it might reel the system. The algorithm is going to pull back and you may lose significant performance. Moreover, as a note, you're not going to see the same scale as you might when running optimized. And that's just, again, because we're not driving towards the best click-through rate. We're just giving you an opportunity to A/B test these creatives. And then we get into the tracking parameters section. You can add UTM parameters to the tracking section, and these are automatically going to be appended to the end of each creative in that campaign. Now, if you do decide to have UTM parameters on the item level, we do recommend removing whatever is in this field. Otherwise, you'll get duplicate data or it will tack on twice. Of course, if it's the same UTM parameters for every creative you're running in a campaign, it's much easier to put it in this tracking section, and we'll take care of appending that for you. Once you're ready and reviewed all of the bidding and budget, your campaign targeting section, you're going to be able to hit continue, where you can review all the material. And before finalizing the campaign, you get to the page to add your inventory. It starts first by asking you for specific landing page URLs. Now you can add them one at a time, but if you want to add multiple ads at a time, you can do so in this fashion by adding multiple URLs separated by a unique line. When you add them, you will see a page very similar to this, where the landing page URLs will appear. We will crawl the website initially for a title or a thumbnail, and that's what you are seeing right now. If ever you want to change what is in those fields, simply click on the title or click on the thumbnail, and you will get that opportunity to edit that material. Now, as I mentioned, when you click on the thumbnail or headline, you will get a series of boxes to appear to change the material that's written in or entered. A note about the thumbnails. If you wish, you have the ability to access our image library. Now, the first two tabs will show your local file, your URL, something that you can add on your end, but we also have a partnership with Getty Images. This image library is completely free for you to use, and all the photos have already matched our specific aspect ratios. So all you have to simply do is enter keywords or change the keywords that might have been pre-selected, and you have a breadth of images for you to utilize for your individual campaigns. As a note for your headlines, just something to keep in mind, you probably want to stay around 30 to 65 characters. After 65 characters long, the headlines will begin to be cut off. Additionally, you want to pre-qualify your users as best as possible. And what I mean by that is that your creatives are the first thing clients are seeing, especially since we're on a discovery network. So you want to call that user out and speak to them directly for the best chance of a click that is going to be successful for your landing page. Once you have edited the titles and you've chosen the thumbnails that you wish to run with, you will have the opportunity to finish your material. Keep in mind that we have a link out to check the landing page. You can also click on the thumbnail or the title again to change any of the material that's pending, but once you are ready, go ahead and click finish. Once you hit finish, your campaigns are going to enter a review period by our manual content review team, who will assess it for appropriateness and overall guidance to our advertiser policy guidelines. All of these policy guidelines can be found in our help center and give a very clear distinction of what is and is not allowed on our network. If you are unsure about whether or not your content would be approved, it doesn't hurt to get a campaign going, and at worst, it's going to be rejected and you will receive a note. Once your campaign is running, it is going to start collecting insights, and this is where we can start tracking your performance. So we're first going to start by looking at the top campaign content. This is the second link down on the campaign management portal on your dashboard. Your top campaign content will give you your item level insights individually. Now, note in the top left, you can sort by particular campaign. So you can see how items are working across each individual campaign, but you can also look at them from the entire account level. Additionally, note that if any campaign or item is not meeting your particular goals or your needs, say it's above your CPA goal by a lot, or it's driving a very low CTR, click-through rate, you can pause those items out and they won't run, and it will, in a sense, optimize your campaign, because it just means we have one less negative item to work with, and we're only working with your positive book of data. From the top campaign content, I would now encourage you to take a look at the campaign summary. This is the top item in your dashboard, and this is where all of your insights are going to live on a very specific level. Additionally, this is also the landing page that we looked at earlier when you first log into your account. Keep in mind that in the top right corner, you can set a specific date range to look at this data from. You also have the ability to layer on other features within the graph. To start, we will only be showing the clicks and the spend, but you can also layer on other data if you want to track the trending. Across the top of the graph, you have several tabs to view your data on more specific levels. And as always, you can also filter by specific campaign. In general, we do recommend when you're looking at this page, look on the campaign level first. A, you will get a few more tools at your disposal, but B, it's going to be more particular data to the content that you need to review. We're going to take a look at just a few of the specific tabs within this campaign summary that are going to be especially useful for you, starting first with the By Site tab. Now, on our network, I mentioned earlier that we try and be as transparent as possible. We are going to give you all of the performance across every publisher that you've been visible on. You can see this with a bar graph across the top, but you also have the ability to see the data across the bottom as well. Now, one thing I would like to especially highlight here are the few buttons that you can find on the right-hand side of the table below. Namely, there are 10% icons and there's a red circle here that allow you to adjust your CPC bid by site or block out any sites that are not performing well to your standards. So, for example, if you're running to a specific CPA goal and a site is well below the goal, you want to consider boosting your CPC bid by 10% increments. And what that will do is it'll allow you to take over more volume on that particular site, knowing that we have already met your CPA goals. If a site is over your CPA goal, start by deboosting that CPC bid by 10% increments, and we'll devote less spend to that particular account and try and get that CPA down to your goal level. Ultimately, if there's a site that's just completely not performing well for you, you have the option to block that out manually using that red circle icon. Definitely utilize this page. We see that users who engage with their content on a site-by-site basis could see upwards of almost 4 times the uplift in campaign performance. So definitely utilize this page as an asset. It has been very beneficial for most users across our network. Now, the next page I want to take a look at here is the By Audience tab. And this is where I mentioned earlier in the slides, when you run a run-of-network campaign, or you're not sure what data segments to run, you can come here to find those insights. When looking on a campaign level, we can see every single data segment that we've been visible across, what our impression base look like, the click-throughs, etc. And essentially, it'll allow you to decide whether or not you want to run with that segment or not. If you do find some winners, you'll notice that there are checkboxes over on the left-hand side. You can choose specific data segments when looking on a campaign level like this. And the button above that says duplicate using audiences will allow you to basically copy that exact campaign and simply layer on the segment that you have chosen. Now, also keep in mind in this image shown here, there's one box that is grayed out and 2 that are light. We only allow at this current moment to run 1 provider per campaign, but you can of course run multiple segments by that provider. We do this to limit risk of any crossover data, But more specifically, the logic in our system is going to take care of that for you. So if you're ever concerned about maybe crossing over data, know that it's physically impossible via our system. Now, we find that users who also engage with data segments, this is one of our other beneficial tools here. You can see an average of 2 times more success with performance in your network. So in summary, we've covered a lot of material here. We looked at a lot of features, but namely, we encourage you to place those pixels, get some tracking in place so that we can start looking at those actions, or we can start building a pool of users to retarget to. On a creative side of things, more creatives means more to test. You give us more creatives per campaign and we can optimize for the best performing ads. So it's in your best interest to get at least 10 going for your first campaign. If you're not sure what targeting to apply, start with a run of network campaign. Again, a run of network campaign is one that doesn't have any specific data segments applied to it. And you can let our system tell you how your campaign is doing so you can make smarter decisions moving forward. You do have a lot of targeting options, so beware of going too narrow. Otherwise, you risk not seeing enough users across the open web. And lastly, a big note here is that your performance will change through time. Nothing in your system or nothing about your campaigns are going to lock, with the exception of the branding text once you are running. And so we do encourage you to log in every so often to maybe adjust your CPCs by a few cents at a time and see how your traffic will change. Maybe you consider increasing your spending limit to see if we can allocate more per day. Ultimately, as a transparent platform, we're going to give you all of this data and we want you to use it as best as possible. So definitely play around with it because you're going to be able to net out specific trends. And with that, I want to open it up for questions. I know we've got some throughout the call, but you can also feel free to submit them via the questions drop-down box in your GoToWebinar control panel. I also have my colleague Sarah here to also assist with answering some of these questions.
Hi, everybody. All right, let's get started. So one of the first questions I see here is, Rob, can we use one pixel for everything, for example, retargeting and conversion?
So we do have a universal pixel that is going to be utilized fairly soon. At the moment, you're going to be looking for specific conversion pixel tracking or individualized retargeting pixel tracking. But you will be seeing in just a few weeks' time here, I believe it's before mid-April, you're going to see a single pixel that you can use to track multiple actions, including conversions and retargeting all in the same field. You're going to get page views included with that. And even moreover, we're also giving in the functionality for you to build your own customized audiences. So included in that retargeting pixel, we're going to build out a field for you to be able to build audiences. So in the future, you basically have your own data segments that you're building.
Great. Next question. What are CPC benchmarks that you would suggest by platform or device?
Sure. Well, it depends honestly on the type of content you're running. So if you're looking for more of an e-commerce or a lead gen focus, a good benchmark would put mobile at around 20, 25 cents, desktop double that at around 45, 50 cents, and then tablet floats somewhere in the middle. If you're running something more like arbitrage content, something with slideshow data and a lot of page views, you can go much lower. Mobile, you'll tend to see around maybe 5 to 10%, 10 cents for initial performance, desktop around 20 to 30 cents, and again, tablet anywhere in between.
How many headlines should I test starting out?
So we mentioned having around 10 particular creatives for a campaign. You don't need to have 10 individualized headlines. We recommend probably around maybe 3 to 5 headlines and pair that with maybe 3 to 5 thumbnails and mix and match them. Come up with different iterations of them. If you're not sure exactly what the best direction to move in might be, we'd also encourage you to take a look at trends.taboola.com. This is also found via our help center or anywhere on our website as well. You'll be able to see rolling trends throughout our network of what's working well by vertical. So you can sort by category and see what images are working best, as well as what keywords might be giving you strong competition.
This one is related to billing. Why am I seeing an additional charge outside of my credit card spend?
So with credit cards, you are going to have a payment with an additional 2.9% plus 30-cent fee, and that's just a standard credit card transaction fee.
Okay. In regards to macros for the tracking code, Is there a place where I can find them and adjust the tracking code for Google Analytics per se?
Absolutely. So when you start with the tracking code, we are going to default to include anything with Taboola as a referral source. But our Help Center has a list of further macros that you can build out to pull more information back to Google Analytics. This would include macros that organize your information by site and by campaign or even by title. Definitely take a look at our Help Center and you can see how you can build them out, and gives very clear step-by-step instructions if you're unclear.
Great. Just questions around if you did come late to this session today, please note we are recording this and you will all receive a follow-up email today with a copy of the recording that you can listen to at a later time. So not to worry. Next question, is there going to be a replay available for the webinar? So again, you'll receive a recording for this. What are your top traffic geos?
Top traffic geos. So we run globally. We have actually just successfully hit half of the world's internet users. A very big milestone for us, and we're constantly growing, building out our publisher network for that. You'll find that a lot of our successful geos for English-speaking countries, I mean, we have the US, Canada, we work well across all of Europe. We also can focus to more Spanish-speaking countries. So Spain and Mexico are some of our fastest growing markets. We also have Brazil is growing very fast as well. Honestly, we run across the entire globe. So our most successful ones, or I guess our largest volume right now, would be pretty much what you might expect across general internet traffic, United States, Canada, and most of Europe.
Great. What would you consider to be a good CTR?
As an initial level, I would say probably a 0.1% measures initial success. Now, one thing to note about measuring your CTR, and I guess this would go for really any content coming through your platform, is to be aware of statistically significant data. When you're initially getting information, our algorithm is finding the best placements for you. It's letting your campaign do its work. And so you need a little bit of time to scale. We recommend really starting to make sound decisions after about 1,000 clicks. And that's where you're going to start to see an average CTR for your campaign content. You'll be able to start making optimizations based off of those results. But I would say 0.1% is probably a good starting goal if you're trying to reach one.
All right, last question here. Is there a way to delete old campaigns that are no longer active?
At the moment, unfortunately, there's not a way to delete them, but I will assure you that we are working on a feature for your dashboard that will be rolling out in the next several weeks that will allow you to archive the material. So while it might look a little bulky for now, you are going to get that ability to organize your content soon.
And just around brand safety, just to quickly touch on that, sure. A question around how can I make sure my content won't appear alongside my competitors in terms of brand safety. So one thing to note is if you are, let's say, advertising a product related to another company, really there's no way to ensure that both of your ads don't show up on the widget at the same time. It's kind of part of being in a competitive marketplace across the open web. We do take brand safety very seriously. We have a centralized content review team that reviews every single ad and every single campaign coming through the Taboola network at a global scale. So that's one very important piece to note is just anytime you are entering a new campaign or a new piece of creative, the turnaround time for that is usually around 2 business days, because that does go through a specific content review team. So just to keep that in mind, if for whatever reason you're ever noticing a very long turnaround time for that, you can always reach out to support@taboola.com with questions. But we do take brand safety very seriously.
And yeah, more information on that. If you want to find our advertiser policy guidelines, basically go to our Help Center. One of the first pages, you'll see options for creating and managing your campaigns. There's a very detailed breakdown of our landing page best practices, our headline and thumbnail practices, as well as our policies. So you can see how specific we are when it comes to monitoring campaign content. As Sarah mentioned, brand safety is hugely important for us, and that's why we've built out this manual team. They take individualized reviewing processes. They will segment your content and basically focus on how safe it is. So if you're worried that you have a very safe product and you're going to be appearing next to a very unsafe product. That will not happen on our network because of this manual review process. All right, so it looks like that is the bulk of questions for now. We will be operating with more webinars in the future, so definitely keep an eye out for activity. But of course, as always, if you are looking for more information, you can always email support@taboola.com. They will be a great resource for you, and they're available 24/7. Additionally, our Advertiser Help Center is a place I encourage you to look around in. There are great screenshots and descriptions on how to build out all the material we discussed in a more robust fashion. And so it's a great place to start your first campaign. You can navigate there by going to help.taboola.com. Beyond that, I want to thank everyone for joining in today. You will receive the recording shortly after the call, and we look forward to working with you and helping your campaign scale.